All right, so now we're ready to tackle task number 2. Now just taking a look at this, we can gather some information. It looks like we have a bunch of different types of cars. They're all Toyotas, but if we keep scrolling, we can see each type of Toyota vehicle. And I just made this as an example for us to kind of play around with to apply our functions. So we have the make, that's the name of the company that makes it, the model, that's the style of car, the year it was manufactured, and the reported miles per gallon. So let's take a look at this question here, though. Toyota is offering an incentive for new and used vehicles for students who are commuting to school. If a student purchases a vehicle that is fuel efficient, which means it gets more than 24 miles per gallon, they're eligible for a $250 rebate. Oh, cool, they're going to give us money if we buy a car that gets good gas mileage. Neat. If a student purchases a vehicle that is newer than 2014, they count as a modern vehicle and are eligible for a $250 rebate. Oh, cool. If you buy a newer car, you get $250 back as well. And a vehicle can qualify for both of these rebates. So ultimately, if I buy a car that is both fuel efficient and modern, that means that I can get $500 back in a rebate. Pretty neat. All right, and we want to fill in the functions for columns F through I, so that's these 4, to determine if they are fuel efficient, modern, and then we're also going to find out if they're both fuel efficient and modern, or just fuel efficient or modern. So it either qualifies for both of those requirements, or it qualifies for just one of those requirements. Okay, and then we also want to find a running count of the number of cars that are eligible for a $500 rebate and the number of cars that are eligible for a $250 rebate. Okay, I think we can tackle this. So remember, we learned about if, and, or, and not. So let's take a look at this first piece. Fuel efficient means that it's greater than 24 miles per gallon. I think we could figure that out. If we double click on here, we can set up our first function. I'm going to say equals if, because remember we want to find if it's fuel efficient. We put in the parentheses. All right, the first thing that we need to do is see if the miles per gallon is greater than 24. All these cars in this list, not so much, but as I scroll down, there we go, we're getting some cars that might qualify. So the first vehicles in the list are not going to follow what we are looking for. We're going to say if, I'm going to click on the cell D2, greater than 24, comma, now we get to plug in what we want our cell to say. I'm going to say yes. Then I'm going to click comma again, and I can put in what I wanted to say in case it is not the situation we're looking for. No. And my quotes and my parentheses. So we have if cell D2 is greater than 24, we're going to say yes. If it isn't, we're going to say no. So we can press enter, and we got a no. Okay? Let's extend with that magic little box at the bottom. Let's extend this all the way down. We don't have to go to all of them yet, but I would like to bring it down to the point of where we can look at some of the results. So we got a bunch of yeses here. Oh, there's a no because it's not greater than 24. 25, we got a yes. So we're able to form this logical response of yes or no based on if it is true or false, that it's greater than 24 miles per gallon. So I'm going to scroll down back to where we left off, and I'm going to extend this formula all the way down to the end. It might take a couple seconds to get down to the bottom. That's okay though. We just drag and hold it below where we want it to scroll, and it will keep going, going, going until it hits the end. And there we go. All of our yeses and nos have been filled out for this. All right, cool. That solved our first issue. Now, I'm going to pause the video for a second, and I'm going to do the function for whether or not the vehicle is modern. I'm going to let you figure that one out on your own. All right, so I figured out that formula, and now what we're going to be looking at is whether or not both of these situations are fuel efficient and modern. We could also look at the situation of whether it's fuel efficient or modern. So I'm going to do one of these, and then I'm going to let you do the other. I'm going to do the or situation. So I'm going to double click into here, and I'm going to put in equals or, and then in parentheses, I'm going to look for the situations that I will accept to be either fuel efficient or modern. So what does that mean? Well, I'm going to click on this first cell here, F2. If F2 equals yes, comma, I'm going to put in another possible option, G2 equals yes, and then I'm going to close my parentheses and press enter. We're going to get a false for this, which basically means nope, it did not work. Because look at that, this vehicle is not fuel efficient, it is also not modern, so it didn't satisfy the or situation on here. I'm going to scroll this down just a little bit to make sure that we can see some different responses. All of these falses, right, this is all a bunch of no's being set up. Okay? Look at this true situation here, right? This got a yes for the modern because it's a newer vehicle. Even though it's not fuel efficient, I got a true for that. And if I scroll down, we have a bunch of trues here, mostly for the modern vehicles, but not about the fuel efficiency. So let's scroll down and add and extend this just a little bit further. Okay? Now we can look at some more situations using the or statements. We got a whole chunk of true over here. I think that is responding to all of these being yes, even though these are no. But what happens if we get a yes, yes? Well, let's keep scrolling. There is a yes, no, and that also gave us a true. Okay, so like we said, though, in this or situation, we're able to make it so that it will say true if one of them happens to be true. What about this one right here? Yes and yes? That also gave us a true. So it looks like we have some, a solution going here for even if both of them are yes, we still get a true as a result. All right, I'm going to leave this column as well for you to figure out. Because, I want you to try to learn and test your skills out. This must be both of those situations. And finally, the last thing that I need to do, let me make sure that I extend my formula all the way down to the bottom, because I want this to work with all of my rows of data. Because the next thing we're going to do is figure out how many vehicles are eligible for the $250 rebate. And when I scroll back up, that's going to be this situation, if they're either fuel efficient or modern. Because if one of them is true, well, that's going to give us the $250, right? Because if it's modern, we get $250. Even though if it's not fuel efficient, we miss out on that other $250, but at least we're getting some money from this. So we're going to double click into here, get rid of that equal sign, and now we need to figure out how many of these vehicles qualify for either being fuel efficient or being modern. It seems to me like we need to use an older formula from 1.3.a, and it's going to be equals count if, right, because we want to count only specific situations. We have to choose our range, so I'm going to choose this entire range going down. And this is a very lengthy range that we're dragging the mouse down on, I understand that. But again, this is one of the nice little features of spreadsheets is we can just drag and drag and drag, and if we just let it go all the way to the end, we have our entire range figured out. Now, what's nice as well is we know that it's 642 rows. So we just know that that's the bottom level number. And then I'm going to say, comma, all right, now we have to put in what we're looking for. And on here, I'm going to look for true, end my quotes, and end my parentheses. I'm looking for all the vehicles in these columns that happen to have the value of true in all capitals, because that's what the or gave us as a true or false. It's kind of like a yes and no, but we have to play by the rules of what the or statement gives us. There are ways to fix this, and maybe I'll put in a bonus video on how to fix that so we can actually get it to say yes or no. But for now, we're just looking at the basics of each of these formulas and functions. When I press enter, I see that 433 of these vehicles from Toyota are qualified for a $250 rebate. we should have significantly less vehicles that qualify for the $500 rebate because we're getting more specific with our needs. It must be both of those items instead of just one. All right, so your task is to figure out how to get column H with the both fuel efficient and modern. You also need to go back and figure out whether or not the vehicle is modern or not. And then you also have to find a count of all of the vehicles that qualify for $500 rebates. All right, so take your time with this. Be sure to ask questions when you need, and don't be afraid to look back on things and try stuff out.